Hello, we are the Casual Ramblers. I'm Will Taylor, joined by my co-host Jack Richardson.
Hello, everyone.
Here we are, back episode 5,
Yeah.
which will be up a day later than advertised, I believe. We had a little bit of problem with the software, didn't we? But we are here, back for episode 5, ready to get amongst it, as you said last week. So, Jack, first things first, as always, the results roundup. Any notable results?
I think we start off at the Prem, sort of at the top of the table.
Almost a week ago now.
Almost, yeah, but it still needs to be discussed. It was the Spurs beating Chelsea 3-1. Really impressive victory for them, I think. Obviously, ending Maurizio Sarri's unbeaten run. As sort of a Spurs follower yourself, have you got anything to add to that? Were you impressed?
I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing is it was a huge shock. We all like a bet, all of us, the friends that we have, and if I was to put money on that game, I certainly would have put it on Chelsea. I don't think I'd have put it on Spurs. They seem to be having, even though they are in the top 4, what's been classed as a bad season so far, possibly because of the new signings, the lack of new signings even. So they are definitely struggling in the eye of the media, but they absolutely blew away Chelsea. They absolutely blew them away. Heung-min Son's goal was absolutely fantastic. Moussa Sissoko put in a performance like I've never seen before. Is there a point that we realise that Spurs might be, contenders up in the top 4?
I think in terms of, when they play well, without a doubt, they're definitely contenders. But as you touched on just there, the lack of signings, it just makes it hard to imagine that they could sort of continue that for a whole 38-game season, let alone with Champions League and League Cup, FA Cup, because they're in the League Cup semi-final. Is it semi-final against Arsenal, quarter-final?
I think it might be quarter, yeah.
Even so, that's another competition they're in. It is difficult because when they play like they did against Chelsea, they are definitely contenders, and I think sort of top 3 level. But it's just the lack of signings, the squad depth. Again, with the Champions League, which we'll touch on in a bit, they've left players out of that squad, such as Foyth, who's been playing in at centre half. So hopefully, because when they play well, it's good to see because they've got a lot of English players, Dele Alli and Harry Kane. It's nice seeing them performing well. Hopefully they can keep it up, and that's from that Chelsea game they can really kick on and go on a good run.
Well, I think you just touched on then the English players that obviously did so well over the summer with Gareth Southgate. They seem to still be performing. You've got Harry Kane, who had a fantastic game. Dele Alli played well. I mean, Eriksen, he's obviously scored. He likes scoring against Chelsea. Eriksen was fantastic. I know he's not English, but another good player. But I mean, obviously, as someone who does have a little bit of an attachment to Spurs, I'm obviously going to be a bit biased to how good we were from maybe a more neutral perspective, even though as West Ham you probably dislike both. How bad were Chelsea? Were Spurs that good, or do you, from more of a neutral point of view, do you think Chelsea were that bad?
I think Chelsea were very poor, defensively especially. David Luiz had an absolute stinker. Definitely involved in 2 of the goals, turning his back on the Harry Kane shot. As a centre-half playing in the Premier League, that's just unforgivable. And then with Heung-min Son's goal, as brilliant as it was, David Luiz's attempt to win the ball, it was painful to watch. Watching a centre half just not put anything into that he just let him stride past him. And forgive me for not remembering. He may have given away the foul for the free kick for the first goal. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but even still, it was a poor performance from him. The midfield was almost nowhere to be seen. Not really many chances were created, and the ones that were not capitalised. So it was definitely Chelsea were bad, but credit where credit's due to Spurs. They did play really well, and it just the two levels of performance from each team came together, and hence the result.
I mean, I know, like you said, they weren't great. That Chelsea weren't great, but what do you think? The biggest thing for me is the keeper. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. Kepa, we're going to call him.
Yes.
Kepa, the keeper. How a lot of people seem to put a lot of blame on him. Have Chelsea shot themselves in the foot by letting Courtois go, and they're not, arguably not properly replacing him?
I think that's definitely a factor, but Courtois was going to go no matter what, and I think they sort of, I don't want to say panic buy, because I know that he was on the radar of a lot of European sides, but I don't think they fully planned for when Courtois was gone. I think they half knew he was going and was like, oh, we'll be fine, we'll be able to get someone. He's only young, but the potential's still there. He has put in good performances this season. He does remind me a lot of a young David De Gea at Man United. When Alex Ferguson brought him in, everyone went, oh, this is no replacement for Van der Sar. He's too weak for the Premier League. He's too young. It's very similar to Kepa. So you're right. I think in terms of the here and now, maybe they have, but I still feel as if he is a good signing for the future.
Okay. He's also replaced. He has also replaced De Gea as Spain's number one. I believe after a string of bad performances in the national team for De Gea. So maybe he's not all that bad, but certainly in the North London derby, he did not look great. So moving on, also with Spurs, because not only have we got the weekend's football, we've also got a little bit of Champions League to look at. So Spurs in the Champions League, beating Inter Milan at home, still look like the odds are against them to qualify for the round of 16 though.
Yeah, they got the win, a late 1-0, Eriksen the scorer. It's massive for Spurs to even just to take it to the last game. It is at Barcelona and it is away, so no easy task. But they did sort of look like they were out of it. Before this Inter Milan game, Spurs fans, there was definitely a lot of worry amongst the fans. But to take it to the last game, and I don't see them beating Barcelona, but at least the chance is there. And I think you'd definitely agree that'd be quite good to see. It's almost like a final.
It is almost like a final. I mean, it's maybe not as uncommon as people think because Barcelona are already through top of the group. Yeah. So and they've not had the greatest of starts to La Liga. So whether they're going to want to maybe prioritise the game at the weekend ahead of a game against Spurs and rest the key players, your Suarez, your Messi's, players like that, I don't know. I doubt it because I know that they definitely want to qualify with as many points as they possibly can. But I don't see why, it would be ultimately the most Spursy thing to happen, to put yourself in that position, but then somehow get yourselves out of it. So maybe we'll see Spurs get through. Inter Milan should beat PSV, so it's very much a must-win against Barcelona. But, maybe looking a bit broader at the Champions League, they're not the only English team that are with a major threat of not qualifying.
Liverpool, yeah. Lost against PSG on Wednesday night. Did you watch the game at all?
No, I didn't. I watched parts here and there, but I mean, I think PSG played quite cleverly.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, and it wasn't a fantastic show from Liverpool. I must say they didn't. I think in the first half, definitely their only shot on target was their goal. Which is, for a team that's so prolific in the Premier League, that's not the first time that's happened in the Champions League. Again, Napoli away, they didn't have a single shot on target for 90 minutes. I think it's the third away game in the Champions League they've lost this year. Maybe that's a problem people have overlooked. Maybe away from home, they're actually not quite the side they are at Anfield. It does look like it's going to be a struggle for them to go through.
I mean, it's worth remembering, and maybe this is me not looking properly into it, but I remember when they lost to Red Star away. There wasn't, there was a lot of criticism. I saw in the back pages of the papers when Fellaini got a last-minute winner, which we'll touch on in just a moment, about Mourinho throwing the bottle and him going mental about it. Well, with all due respect, I know Liverpool are doing considerably better. United are doing considerably better than Liverpool in the league. But, surely Liverpool should have got more stick for losing to Red Star, which they didn't get, than United should get for beating a team despite how late it was.
And yeah, you're definitely right there, because at the end of the day, no matter who it's against, a win is a win. And, the facts and stats don't lie. United are through and Liverpool aren't. I think as well, not only did they lose to Red Star, it's almost as if people have forgotten they was finalists last year. And for a lot of people, there's the whole thing over, had Salah not got injured, Liverpool probably would have won it. So in a lot of people's minds, Liverpool probably should be champions of Europe right now. I don't personally agree with that. I think Real Madrid would have won no matter what. But regardless of people's opinions, they were in the final and somehow 3 away losses on the bounce, 1 against Red Star. It's sort of like gone unnoticed.
That's what I was trying to say. It has very much gone unnoticed, but they're now literally, and it's not even like it's a shootout with Napoli because Napoli are in such a better position. They're top of the group. They've got a much better goal difference. So Liverpool have got to hope either Red Star beat PSG, which I really, really cannot see happening. Stranger things have happened, but I can't see that. Or that they absolutely hammer Napoli at Anfield, and Napoli aren't the sort of team, even without Maurizio Sarri, to let that happen. So I can't really see a way of them getting into that last 16. But on top of that, 2 English teams have qualified. We've got Man City and Man United. Man United, in a lot of people's minds, mine included, are not going to be the favourites to go on as far maybe as Liverpool did last year, but not many better teams in Europe than Man City this year, surely.
I think they can definitely go on to win it. The way they play. Okay, granted, it wasn't the greatest result against Lyon. They would have wanted to have won that game, but they're so clinical. They're just such a good team to watch. I was at the West Ham game Saturday just gone, where Man City absolutely thumped them 4-0. And they played with so much ease. It's almost as if it's a training session for them. They had 4 clear chances and scored the ball. They're so good at the system they work in. They all know each other so well. I really think they can be a threat in Europe this year.
Absolutely. Question for you, right? Is that Pep Guardiola's priority this year ahead of the league title? If you offer him the Champions League or the Premier League, I know he'd want to win both, but if you offered him the Champions League and the Premier League, which one do you think he's going to take?
I think Pep would prefer the Champions League. Because he's already won the Prem with Man City, and I know it was part of his plan to get Man City a Champions League title. When he arrived, he wanted to make them a Champions League winning team, like he's done at both Bayern Munich and Barcelona. I think that's the one he wants for Man City. He's done the Prem.
In style.
He definitely, in great style. He definitely wants to put, cherry on top and win the Champions League with them, I'd say.
And I certainly don't put that past them. Moving away from the Champions League, which was very good, we are going to backtrack slightly back into the weekend and the midweek results in the Championship. There's only one real team that you can pick up on there, isn't there?
Well, it's going to have to be Aston Villa, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
First of all, there was a derby on Sunday. Aston Villa against Birmingham is always going to be a good game. Any derby is going to be. And both teams, relatively okay form. Leading up to the game, it's definitely going to be quite exciting, and that's exactly what it was. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think it certainly lived up to everything that you want a derby to live up to, and the fact that of all people, 34-year-old Alan Hutton stepped up, running through the Birmingham defence to stick it in the top corner. That certainly would have been something that no one, or certainly not many, would have seen coming. So it had everything a derby you'd want a derby to have. Debates over Tammy Abraham's penalty, whether it was or wasn't. The fact is, the referee gave it, and that's what the score was at the end of the game. But I thought they did fantastically, and Dean Smith has really, really turned things around there. Villa really turned things around and made them, sort of took them up a notch that Steve Bruce couldn't take them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they are in good form, and that leads us on, I think, to their following game, which was on Wednesday, was it not?
I believe it was. I believe it was Wednesday. Yeah.
Aston Villa 5, Nottingham Forest 5.
You don't see 10 goals in many other games in the Championship, will you? That was I mean, even though we just spoke about good form, that will not be. I know Notts Forest are above them and probably will not be as happy with the result. Villa, they've got to be, for that to feel like a good point and to concede 5 goals at home. If they're away, but to concede 5 goals at home, that's poor. That is that no matter even if you score 5, to concede 5 at home, it isn't good enough, really. I do think it was a blip. Do I think they'll move on from it? Absolutely, but I certainly think it was a learning curve for what is, a team that is still learning under a new manager.
I think for both teams, definitely. Regardless of scoring 5, they've both conceded 5, and you definitely got to be question marks over both sides' defences there. I can't imagine either manager went into the change room after 90 minutes happy with his side. Probably Dean Smith more so, because Forest, they were 2-0 up quite early on. But as a neutral, just what a game!
Oh yeah, it was a spectacle.
How incredible!
It was an absolute spectacle. It was amazing to watch. The fact that it was just goal after goal after goal after goal. There's a young man, actually, I can't remember his first name, something Lolly.
Didn't he get 4 of the assists and a goal?
Unbelievable. What a stat, what an evening for that young man. But, again, Villa will be happy with it. Forest still in the playoffs. The Championship's hot enough of it. I know we're only going into December now, but there's a lot on the table, isn't there? There's a lot of teams that you think probably could go up.
Well, teams have been going in and out of form, like you see Derby drop points against Stoke, which is a good win for Stoke. There's a good win for Stoke, actually, going down to 10 men.
The inflatable snakes for Gary Rowett in the away end.
Against his former club.
Which was quite funny. But
I know Norwich dropped points as well. I didn't see the game or any of the highlights, so I can't determine if it was 2 points lost or a point gained. But Norwich, who were flying quite high, had a poor performance midweek. There's a lot of teams, Leeds started so well and then went through a bit of a blip. So it is exciting team. You don't know who's going to perform, and it's
it certainly looks like there's a lot of teams that could go up. But as always happens, teams fall off the pace around this time of year. This is the real testing part. A lot of fixture congestion, a lot of games around Christmas. You'll see injuries. That's where squad depth comes into it, which is where you argue actually teams like Aston Villa and Leeds are probably benefiting more because they do have the money to have more squad depth and better players and sign players in January even, which a lot of people won't be able to do. So maybe we will see Villa sneak up, but it's not going to be an easy ask for them, is it?
No, definitely not.
They started so poorly that it's not going to be easy. But anyway, moving further down again into League One, we seem to be speaking about this team quite often, but it's hard not to, isn't it, with such a big fish in a small pond?
That's right, and that would be Sunderland. As you said, it is hard not to talk about them because, well, first of all, I just don't think they belong in that league. No. So it's it's no surprise they're performing quite well. I think we'll start off with their game at the weekend versus Walsall. It was a last minute, but definitely a very late equaliser from Sunderland to draw 2-2, which is a big result. Not much more to say about that game, I don't think.
No, I mean it's fantastic scenes in the away, which is really nice to see. Absolute packed out away, and their away support is a real credit to them.
It's been brilliant.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and it will continue to be so, I imagine. So, fair enough to the away fans going and a nice away win there. Did have Sunderland on my bet, got an early red card, which sort of ruined that, but we'll look past that, I suppose. But moving into midweek as well. Sunderland-Barnsley, that was not a game I was going, that any of us could even look at calling who would win, because both teams are doing so well. Barnsley, on fire, striker Kiefer Moore banging in the goals. I think it's 11 he's on this season now. Former Torquay, I like to chuck in there, but he's flying. He scored the 2 goals, but there was just no stopping Sunderland on night, was there?
No, really good 4-2 victory for them. Definitely a big boost to confidence, leading into sort of the winter period, the Christmas period, where there is a lot of games to be played, and it's nice to get that over one of your competitors. Barnsley are a great side, they're performing well, so to get a win like that is really good for Sunderland, and it just further adds to how well they've performed all year so far.
Absolutely, I think, and I mean they've done. It's very easy to come in as a new owner, chuck loads of money at it, and even when you're such a big fish, as we saw with Portsmouth, as we saw, with so Leeds and Nottingham Forest, I think when Norwich went down, they threw money at it and didn't even return the first time of asking. But there's new owners, there's new managers, there's a feel-good vibe around the club. There's no reason that Sunderland not only can't go up this year, but then can't propel themselves even further and look at getting back in the Premiership, certainly within the next few years.
Definitely, as without a doubt, I'm sure that is their plan. They want to be back in the Prem as soon as possible. They are a big club. They were in the Prem for a number of years. I think they definitely sort of, I don't know how they're going to look at it in terms of the time span, but I'd say within the next 5 years, they will definitely want to be a Premier League side again.
It would be fantastic if they did, because as we've discussed a few times here, I think that's certainly where they belong. So moving down again into League Two, we had
in the very, very bottom of League Two.
At the very, very bottom of League Two, we had a very surprising victory for new Macclesfield manager Sol Campbell away at Exeter, flying in the playoffs. Exeter, bottom of the league, looked certainty to relegation, and they scraped a 1-0 win away at St James's Park.
It's a massive result for Macclesfield. I'm not saying Sol Campbell had anything to do with that, because it was the same day he got announced. I'm sure it's just utter coincidence that they decided to finally turn up on the day they get a new manager. But huge result, because Exeter are performing well this year. It's away from home for Macclesfield.
It's a long way, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long way
away. But yeah, I mean, I suppose great win for them. They'll certainly be looking to stay up there. And keep the form, keep it going, keep wins coming in. Do you think they can do that with Sol Campbell? An inexperienced manager?
He, personally, not really. This Macclesfield, I watched them in the League Cup earlier this year.
We both did.
We both did. We both at the game at West Ham. Big victory for the Irons.
I've never seen anything like it.
They are probably, having seen a lot of National League and National League South games, Macclesfield still remain one of the worst teams I've seen live. They were just poor. I know they're against a Premier League side, but they were really, really poor. And no disrespect to Macclesfield or any of their fans. I'm sure they would agree. It's just not quite good enough. And bringing in a very, completely inexperieused manager, I can't see.
Well, he doesn't seem to think he's inexperienced, though, does he?
No.
He seems to think, I think I heard this isn't a direct quote, but in the press conference, he said, a lot of fans will be wondering what I'm doing here. You have a person that was regarded as one of the best footballers in the world. And let me just place something on the record as what I want to say. Sol Campbell, the fact that you did not get a job in the Football League is nothing to do with your race. It's nothing to do with your race. He's quite frankly just an absolute nutcase. He's a nutter. He's kicking up fuss about absolutely nothing. Yeah, granted, okay, fair enough. You've got Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard walking into Derby and Rangers respectively. Yeah? You've got to remember, they retired, 2-3 years ago? If that, at the top of their game. Gerrard's having gone to LA Galaxy, but still remaining in the Liverpool legend, fresh in everyone's memory. And Frank Lampard, having been a Chelsea legend, gone to New York City and had a little stint with Man City. These players were fresh in our minds and will remain and go down as some of England's highest capped and best players. Sol Campbell doesn't have that. He's not fresh in the memory. And the fact, look, if you're the owner of a club, right? If you're the owner of a club and you have a choice between a manager who's very respectful in the media, who's very well conducted, well spoken, or a manager that's throwing his toys out the pram because he doesn't think he's getting a job because he's black, then who are you going for?
Yes, exactly that. Without a doubt, he's got nothing to do with his race. I know.
We're past that now. We're not in that time anymore.
And I know you've mentioned Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, and you're completely right. They are fresh in our minds. And first of all, with Steven Gerrard anyway, he did his time. He was at the under 18s of Liverpool, so he actually had that sort of experience at a decent level of coaching. And again, Frank Lampard retired very recently before that. So Sol Campbell's just been... Well, I don't know what he's been doing the past few years.
No, not kicking up fuss. He's been throwing his toys out the pram for the last few years. That's all I know about him. And then maybe it's sour grapes because I'm a Spurs. I follow Spurs. I don't know, but you cannot come into a time. And I'm not saying racism doesn't exist in society, because it does, and it's a problem. And it is absolutely a problem, and there is definitely a lack of black managers in the Premier in across the Football League, yeah. But you can't tell me if you look at the managers being hired for clubs, it's a massive risk by Mac. It's a massive, massive risk for Macclesfield. There's so many more managers, white, black, Asian, whatever, that might have been more qualified than him. So on the flip side of it, why does he get the job? Do you see what I mean? He's inexperienced. He hasn't got any experience, and he's taking a team that need to be saved from relegation. So why, again, you need to work your way up. Like, look at Jerry Barton. He's gone and got the Fleetwood job. That's not a hell of a lot higher than Mac, but that's a massive risk. And I'm sure he's done coaching in the meantime. And again, fresh in our minds, fresh in our memories. He's recently played. I can't remember when Sol Campbell's last game was.
I haven't got a clue. And he went through the weird, he was
went to Notts County.
Notts County. I think as well, when you look at some of the other players that have walked into management jobs, their careers haven't been wild. Gerrard was a one-club man. Lampard is viewed as a one-club man.
I think he was. I would always say.
Yeah, he's viewed as just Chelsea through and through. I know he's not, but it's just how he's seen. Sol Campbell, people just, as a player, they didn't like him either. And again, that stuff in Tim is race. He went from Arsenal to Tottenham, Tottenham to Arsenal, sorry. He went so many teams. He was at Portsmouth, and then went to Notts County, and it's just like it's a lack of respect. Just people don't like that as much as they like a one-club man.
It's funny because Luis Figo, for example, left Barcelona for Real Madrid. Did you see him throwing his toys out the pram, saying the reason that people like that don't get jobs is because management and football. Less so in football now, but definitely more so in management. There's an element of loyalty that needs to be with you. But Sol Campbell obviously doesn't have that. There's so many other factors to why he wouldn't get a job other than race. And like I said, I'm not saying it's not a problem, because maybe it is a problem, and maybe there aren't enough black coaches throughout the Football League. I think there's 8 black, Asian, or ethnic minorities throughout the Football League, which isn't enough. But I think if I genuinely believe this, that if there's 2 people that are qualified, and if there's a black person that's more qualified than a white person, they should get the job, and they will get the job. But I don't think it's fair for Sol Campbell to start saying that's why, because he's simply just viewed as a nutter. He's absolutely mental. The fact that the comment he made about being England captain for 10 years, when you had John Terry there, who was the captain of Chelsea. You had so many good players in that team. Rio Ferdinand, who was such a big figure for Man United. You had those 2 constantly winning league titles. I know Campbell was winning league titles as well, but you had those 2 that were winning title after title after title with each other. I know Campbell maybe a little bit before so, but there was such... The England captaincy then certainly wasn't something that was thrown around. And managerial positions now are not something that's thrown around. So you can't expect to just get... That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and there's, as you say, in terms of, what you sort of your CV, as you will, there's definitely options for Macclesfield to hire someone a lot more suited to the job, better experience. But so he's actually lucky to have got the job.
I think so.
Regardless of anything, he is actually lucky to get the job. I almost feel as if they've hired him because, they're rock bottom of the league anyway. Why not just take a punt and just...
That's exactly it. No, I totally agree.
But then again, I don't know the ins and outs of it, and I don't want to make accusations, but I don't think I'd be, seen as stupid in thinking maybe they have just done it for the publicity. Like, we need a manager. We're rock bottom anyway. Why not? Let's just hire this,
I think that's
minority coach. Yeah. Looks good for us. They've done it a lot in the past, Matt.
Yeah.
They've actually had a lot of
Yeah.
black coaches in the past. I don't know if that's part of their ethos or if it is just a case of like making themselves look good. Again, I don't want to make accusations, but they definitely could have got someone better. So I just want to know why Sol Campbell.
Exactly. I certainly think, you know, the way Macclesfield looking at it is they were very fortunate to get promoted last year. On a shoestring budget, they had a fantastic manager who consequently left for Shrewsbury, John Askey, and they appointed a new manager that wasn't really that qualified in Mark Yates. He'd just taken over Solihull, so he couldn't have been that high pedigree. So I think very much you could be right that it's just a punt and it's just a bit of a stunt to just say, look, you know, here we are, we've appointed someone. And I'm not being funny, as much as we've just slated Sol Campbell, if you're a centre-half being wanted by Macclesfield, there's not many better people to be coaching you, is there? You know, as a centre-half.
No,
to be saying, you know, to have one of, you know, what is a very, very good and well-established England centre-back as the person coaching you, that's certainly not an awful thing to have, I don't think.
No, definitely not. Of course, you know, if the centre-halves at Macclesfield, it'll be encouraging to them. But just, you know, in the grand scheme of things, as a manager, don't forget this is at a level of football where you don't. It's not the same as the Premier League where you got, you know, like sporting directors and directors of football. At that level, a manager does a lot. He's not just coaching the centre half.
Yeah.
He's got a whole team to take care of. He's got to think of everything sort of within that structure of the side. I just don't. I don't want to, you know. I want him to do well. I want anyone to do well in a new job. I just personally don't think he will, with his lack of experience. I know you need to get experience, but with his lack of experience, I just don't think he'll do a great job. Do you?
No, I'd have to agree that I don't think he will. Like I said, if he does, fair play to him. He's stepped up to the mark. But for a manager I think the way he's gone about getting a job is totally wrong as well. On top of it, you can't get a job by accusing people of being racist until someone gives you a job. That's not the right way to go about it.
There's two sides. It's like there's a side of him going, I'm not getting a job because I'm black. But in a way, it almost looks as if he's got a job because he's black.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Because he's you know, playing like saying it like that. Is it that why he's got the job? Because he's accusing people of not giving him a job because he's black. That consequently, because of it, he has. You know, and discrimination's a thing that shouldn't even be brought into football. It shouldn't even be considered. But the fact that he's, you know, complaining that it's an issue makes it more of an issue, if that makes sense. It doesn't get rid of it. It doesn't eradicate it. Because if you're good enough, it doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter how old you are, anything. If you're good enough, you will get there. You know, if that was a problem, you wouldn't see a selection of black players at the top of the game. Look at the England team. As diverse as it's ever been in terms of like different ethnic origin, totally diverse, and everyone seems friends and everyone's fine about it. So if it is as much an issue as he's saying it is, why is the England team and why is there so much diversity in football anyway?
Why was he even in the England
team? Exactly.
So
if it's as much a problem as he thinks, so I certainly think that although he may succeed there, he'll certainly be a person that struggles to command respect from the general public.
Definitely. Well, we could definitely talk about that all day long.
I think we could.
We are short on time, so we'll just move out of football. We'll move out of football for now. We've got a big event coming up on Sunday morning. It will be as it's
Saturday night, Sunday morning.
The States. That'll be Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury. Massive fight, actually. Any thoughts on that? Who do you think's going to come out on top and how?
Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Like we said, it's the big shootout for who gets the big fight against Joshua, who can become the lineal champion of the heavyweight division. I have to say, it's hard. Tyson Fury obviously isn't the favourite. He's been out of boxing for, obviously apart from the one fight he'd been out of boxing for a long time. Wilder, a lot of people seem to sort of look past him, but he is Anthony Joshua's biggest threat. He is Joshua's biggest threat. He's a fantastic boxer, Deontay Wilder, and he will threaten Joshua if he does get there. But Tyson Fury, how amazing would it be at Wembley Stadium an all-English fight to become the lineal champion of the world. I just imagine that would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
It'd be an unreal spectacle, and I feel like this fight at the weekend is sort of a warm-up for that. I think it'll be absolutely huge. It's probably the biggest heavyweight fight since Joshua Vladimir Klitschko.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I don't really know where I stand. I feel like Deontay Wilder is such a magnificent knockout artist. He could. I feel like he can very easily just finish Tyson Fury off whenever he wanted to. But at the same time, there's almost this magic around Tyson Fury.
He's a very good boxer.
He's a brilliant boxer. My only worry is that. So first of all, it's like a fantastic achievement. He's lost something like 10 stone in the past year, which is unbelievable. And he does look in fantastic shape. But my only concern would be how much of his training has been weight loss compared to boxing.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously had to put in a lot of effort to lose that weight. And I just wonder how much of his focus has been on making the weight compared to improving on his boxing. Because having been out for 2 years, that's what I think we'll see in the fight. Hopefully, his style of boxing is unaffected and he can be as good as he was against Klitschko. But, only time will tell.
Absolutely. I think it's difficult with Klitschko and Fury that fight was very much that Fury, I think, totally outboxed him. Yeah, and although Klitschko was quite old, he was still considered the best in the world. So the fact that Fury outboxed him was fantastic, and I think that sums up Fury. Is that if he's there, if he's on his game, if he's having his day, I think he can beat Wilder. But like you said, Wilder just has that way of just like we saw when we went to watch Joshua Povetkin. It looked like Povetkin was going to win, and then Joshua just went up a gear, and that was it. It was over. And I feel like Wilder also has that gear, which is why it would be fantastic to see them both fight, but also it would be fantastic for a Fury Joshua fight. But I hope Fury wins because I'd love to see that all English tie. And I'd quite like Wilder to stop talking about Joshua as well because he won't leave it. Yeah, he won't leave it, will he? But it says it all that Joshua's finally fighting one of them, and it will sum up whether Joshua gets sort of found out or not. I suppose that he's had maybe Klitschko being his only real tough opponent to date, so it will sort of sum it up to see whether he is all he's cracked up to be, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So that's looking out to be a brilliant fight of the weekend, and I hope it lives up to the hype.
Absolutely.
Finally, I think our last sort of point of the day was sort of running low on time. Not just looking back at the previous week's event, but we're going to look forward. It's got the North London derby between Arsenal and Spurs at the weekend. I think it's like a fun little game we could play regarding that because they're teams that are performing similarly in the league. Sort of an Arsenal-Tottenham combined 11.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's obviously kick things off.
I think
maybe
with the formation to start.
Well, I think personally I'd be going for a 4-3-3. I think I'd use it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, okay. We'll agree to do 4-3-3, but I'll see what you say.
Yeah, so let's start with the goalkeeper. Who would you have between the sticks?
As a Spurs follower, I'm not the biggest fan of Hugo Lloris, but I'd still have to put him above Leno or Cech. I still think he's a better goalkeeper than Leno or Cech. So for me, I do stick Lloris in nets. Yourself?
I think I'd have to agree with you there. Leno's had a couple of good performances here and there, but I think in terms of pedigree, Lloris is definitely the man.
Okay.
For me to go between the sticks. Moving on to left back, probably not the easiest of decisions. But
is it Monreal that's been playing left back for Arsenal most of the season?
I think it has been, yeah.
So it's Monreal or Ben Davies, really, which is not
essentially. I know you've got other squad,
No, Davies is the one that's been starting. I think Ben Davies has had a good season, but Monreal's played well, which pains me to say, but Monreal has played well for Arsenal and been quite vital in the sort of
new era,
and the way they've played. So. Yeah, I think I'm going to say Nacho Monreal at left back.
Again, I would have to agree with you. I think he's been one of the only players at Arsenal in recent years to have consistently performed well. So he definitely, I would say deserves a spot in the squad. Now we'll move on to the two centre halves.
This
I
isn't
feel like
even up for
this
debate.
is where it will be up for debate.
There's no debate to be had here. It's Alderweireld and Vertonghen. There's no one that even comes close to those two in the Arsenal team.
No, I'm not fully disagreeing with you there. I also wouldn't have an Arsenal centre half in there, but I'm an admirer of Davinson Sanchez.
Okay.
I feel like I'd put him in there with Alderweireld personally. I do think Vertonghen's great, but although it is partly unfair making this point, his history of injury, and Sanchez is just, he's a younger player, he's a brilliant athlete, I'm a big admirer of his. So
I think Vertonghen's more established. I think Vertonghen has definitely earned his place in that team more than Davinson Sanchez. He's been loyal to Spurs, he's been a Spurs player, so for me it'd be Vertonghen. We're definitely agreed on Alderweireld.
Yeah,
so what are we going for at centre half? Are you backing down on Sanchez or
I'd have Sanchez. If the game was to be played tonight, Sanchez and Alderweireld would do the job for me.
I will agree on that one for the time being, and I'll agree to Sanchez and Alderweireld then. Right back. No contest.
I feel like not only between these two sides, but in the league in general, I don't think you can look past Kieran Trippier.
No, I don't think you can. That's quite a straightforward one, I think, really.
Yeah.
That's quite a straightforward one. So obviously moving in the 4-3, I'm presuming we're having one holding and then two roaming forwards.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd just like to put this out there early. My holding player, without a doubt, would have to be Lucas Torreira. He is under Emery. He's been a bit overlooked by sort of the general fan, but the job he does is so important, and he has really helped the way Arsenal play. And I just don't think Tottenham have a better holding player. I see you shaking your head, so I'm sure you disagree with that point.
Yeah, you look at who's been the best holding midfielder in the bar N'Golo Kante over the last 5 years, and it's Moussa Dembele. And I know he's getting older, but Moussa Dembele not only holds, he can attack, he breezes past players, his passing range is fantastic. He's Lucas Torreira, fair enough, he's had a great start to life at Arsenal. Moussa Dembele's done it last season, the season before that, and the season before that. 4 years at least, Moussa Dembele has breezed past players and made it look easy. I think there was a stat actually last season or the season before. I think he went 4 months without getting tackled successfully. Don't get me wrong, holding midfield, Torreira is good. He's a good holding midfielder. But Moussa Dembele is not a player that could just be overlooked for someone who's played, 12 games in the Premier League? I don't think.
That's it's a point well made. I definitely do fully understand why you'd have Dembele in the side. He's a brilliant player, and that's a brilliant stat that you've just mentioned. But in terms of how I'd want the football to be played, personally, I would still have Torreira in there. But that's not to overlook Dembele. He's a brilliant player. So
can we agree on Dembele for that one?
I think we can agree on Dembele. I'll go with you there. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And now I suppose we're going to have two more creative midfielders.
I suppose so. I really hope you don't mention Mesut Ozil.
No, people have said it. I agree with it. Christian Eriksen is the player that Mesut Ozil dreams of being. So he's the first name on my team sheet.
Absolutely, can't disagree with that.
One of the best creative midfielders in world football, not just the Premier League. So he's definitely the first name in the midfield, maybe even the whole team sheet. To partner him, who would you go for?
I'll definitely agree with Eriksen. It's hard. It's hard to partner him, but I mean, maybe he's not had the season that's lit up the Premier League. Is there much looking past after the way he played against Chelsea Dele Alli? On his day, I know he's got a bit of aggressiveness, he's got a bit of bite. He loves the North London derby, Dele Alli.
He does.
He loves the North London derby. So I would literally say an all-three Spurs midfield of Dembele, Eriksen and Ali.
And I'd have to agree with you there.
Okay.
Dele Alli would definitely be one of the earlier names on the team sheet.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this is where I'm going to offer you... I'm going to make an offer to you. And if you agree with it, then fine. But if not, then don't. Up front, there's no doubt it's Harry Kane. And I don't even want you to mention
He has to be
Aubameyang.
in the side.
I don't think that you can even mention. I will, however, compromise and let Aubameyang ahead of Lucas Moura as a right winger. That would be my offer to you.
in terms of the striker, it has to be Harry Kane. As impressive as
I know you're a big fan of Aubameyang.
I am a big fan of his, and as brilliant as he is, he just would not get up front ahead of Harry Kane. However, he's a player with a lot of skill. He can start in the right wing, and I would definitely accept that offer because he is as impressive as he has been this season. He's twice the player Lucas Moura is.
Okay. we'll leave that one in the grey area, I think. Finally, left midfield.
If there was any debate here,
there's no debate.
It can't be, can there? It's got to be Heung-min Son.
Finally, okay, so we got that's the front three. So just to run through it, you got Hugo Lloris in goal, Nacho Monreal at left back, Sanchez, Alderweireld, Kieran Trippier, Moussa Dembele holding, Eriksen and Ali, Aubameyang, Kane and Son. Are you happy with that?
That sounds like a good team to me. I can't think of any problems with that.
The one final question for you, Pochettino or Emery?
There's no... This is the easiest choice of them all. It has to be Pochettino.
Absolutely, I'm glad you said
brilliant
that.
as Emery started life at Arsenal, and as well as he's done in the past, like with Sevilla. Pochettino, he's one of my favourite managers in world football. I liked him ever since he first came to the Premier League with Southampton. Did a really good job there for a side that was new to the Prem. He's done brilliantly at Spurs in recent years. You just cannot look past him.
No,
I know for a fact that you can't either.
No, I totally agree. But please let us know what you think of that combined 11. Anything you'd change, anything you'd do differently. Please let us know in the comments or on Twitter at Ramblers Casual, I believe it is.
That's the one.
So yeah, please let us know. And that's, I'm afraid, all we have time for this week, I believe.
It is, yeah, but we will be back very soon on Monday.
Monday, Tuesday, we'll be back to let you know if our combined 11 works out or not. I'm sure we'll be able to have an insight to that. Thank you very much for listening from me.
And from me, yeah.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Goodbye.